Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a really big and long one. Anyway, today we will be looking at a speed paint of me drawing for my comic, something I didn't know, which is about my character Kyle finding out that his boyfriend George is a mermaid with mermaid powers, and having to come to terms with the fact that George's other boyfriend knew and he didn't know. This comic actually was started in 2022. It's when I first started drawing it, around like March or May, and I kind of drew on it on and off between a couple of years, and I finally finished it this year in 2024. So you're seeing the first pages were drawn in 2022. As you can see, it's pretty sketchy because I was just trying to get into motions and get the ideas out. Most of the time when I'm doing comic, especially for George, they were to show my dungeon master and give them an idea of like what I was thinking about for my character. So I would try to push the comics out really fast, but sometimes the comics turn out cleaner than expected, so there are some really clean pages as well, but these are fairly sketchy. You can see Kyle coming into George's room here, very much interrupting what Erin and George were doing, and seeing that George's hair is magically flowing, it's glowing, and that gets him to go, wait, what's going on in here? Something I really wanted to explore in this comic was the relationship between Kyle and Erin, and to really push that Kyle is super obnoxious in that he's trying to really get into business that's not his business. Of course, he's also with George, but I think it's very much be understood that George is with Erin at this time. Really showcasing that Kyle is just in somebody else's business that he needs to not be, and also showing that he doesn't respect Erin and George's relationship, which is something they have to work out as their relationship continues to grow and change. So we have Erin being very defensive, trying to be get out, obviously. And then George is kind of letting it happen, which is a whole other thing. George, you need to start saying something. When I'm drawing comics like these, I tend to just go straight ahead for it. I am the kind of artist who does go straight ahead a lot of the time. I know that sketching is really important, and I actually do support sketching. I sketch when I feel like I really need to, when I can't figure out what's going on. But sometimes I'm I gotta just go for it and just put down whatever my mind is telling me to put down. When you see me put the panels as well, anytime I put panels, it's completely random, or at least me trying to envision what I'm trying to do. But oftentimes the panels are put super randomly because I just don't know what's going to go in the panels, and I'm just trying to think of the story on the fly. This is why it's important to do thumbnails, which clearly I didn't do here, but I do suggest doing thumbnails. Sometimes the art just comes to me and I go for it. When I put the panels down without thinking about it, my mind is trying to fill in the panels with the story as much as possible and not waste a single panel. How can I tell the story I need to tell within the panels that I randomly put down for myself? So it is kind of like a challenge. And panels are really difficult for me because there are occasions where I just don't draw panels, which you do see in other videos, unless I did post those videos. But yes. This comic, like I said, took 2 whole years to do, mostly because I was doing it on and off, and I kind of fell off of it because I didn't know what I was trying to do. Again, planning is important, thumbnailing is important. A real challenge for me in this was making it seem interesting, because for the most part I usually do slice of life comics. I'm not an action drawing comic artist, although I really wish I was. I wish I was good at doing action, and I might have to experiment. But I tend to do slice of life, I tend to do conversations, and it's always how do I make this conversation interesting? How do I showcase what they're saying and how they're feeling so that whoever reads it really gets what's going on with the situation? I feel like I strive really well when it comes to drawing faces and expressions, so I do push those a lot. I push the character acting because the characters are the most important part of the story to me, especially since it's not they're swinging and kicking around, but That would be cool to do. Not for Kyle, George, and Erin. They shouldn't be swinging and kicking each other, and I don't think that they do that. Erin cast spells sometimes. Now we kind of entered into the area of 2024. As you can see, the lines are a bit different. The way I draw is a little bit different. I still am drawing without sketching, but these are actually partially sketches because I was like, I don't remember what I was trying to go for. Like, the original story is clearly back in 2022, so whatever was planned for future pages was lost to time, and it was just kind of up to me to fill in the blanks and still get the story across, which was that, hey, George is a mermaid. I wanted to keep going with that story and then expound upon it as best as I could with whatever my 2024 mind could do. And I think I did a really good job. I had a lot of fun still kind of like experimenting with the panels and with the faces and like really pushing things. I think the hardest part was like thinking of the script. As you can see here, I'm starting to write the words down because I'm like, what am I trying to say? I don't want to forget what I'm trying to do anymore, so let me write it down. You see me getting even scribblier and sketchier. Just like get the ideas down so that way I can draw it and get it all together. I love drawing Erin. He is so funny. It's just Kyle getting angry also makes me laugh. George should be the mediator ideally, but he is really not helping. I really enjoy drawing the three of them interacting because they're so messy and just like clearly this is a relationship that needs some conversations to be had, and instead they're just like going over the conversations and talking about other things, like going back and forth about why you cannot listen to George sing the mermaid song. Like, bro, you're gonna get charmed, you're not gonna remember the song, just deal with it. Okay, we're coming up to one of my favorite pages that I drew, which is George singing. This was actually a little difficult for me because I didn't know how I wanted to portray his powers working. He has a charming voice. When he sings, he draws you in. And I was thinking about like when mermaids draw you into the ocean, like what do they showcase? For me, for George, I was like, yeah, it's just like singing out in the water, being very beautiful, really bringing you in. And that's what I went for. I really love this story. I really do. Then we have Erin dispelling the magic and freeing Kyle because, as they said, he was going to get charmed. He definitely was. The lower panel, I wasn't sure what expression I wanted Kyle to have. Like, I wasn't sure if I wanted him to stay cocky or if I wanted him to be like affected by the spell. And it started off being affected, but then I was like, no, Kyle's going for a super cocky, nothing can stop me, so I had to switch it out. So it was about during this time that I started really rushing. I actually started this comic back up in 2024 because I decided I was going to print a zine or a zine. The pronunciation always gets me. Of all of the Jgorjers comics I made from 2020 all the way until 2024 now, but the compilation is from 2020 2022. But this particular comic, like I said, I started it in 2022 and I didn't really finish it. And I was like, no, I want to include this comic because I feel like this comic's important to the characterization of George and understanding of Kyle and Erin as well. So let me go and work on it. But I had a deadline. I had to get like things set up for when to order things for the printing and things like that. And I was like, oh, this is actually taking me a little longer than I thought. And it wound up being 25 pages when it originally got left off at about 9 pages. So I wound up drawing about 16 extra pages. Don't quote that math, but it was a lot of extra pages being drawn. I just want to say that this was the hardest page to draw right here. I could not figure out how I wanted Erin to swing, but we got there. So you can see me getting into a bit of a rush mode in some of these pages because I'm like, I need to finish this, I need to get it done. Another funny note about this comic, as you may have noticed by now as we're getting into it, is that for like the greater last part of it, or I guess we could say even more than half of it, Erin doesn't have any pants on, so it was kind of funny drawing him in different like positions, because you can imagine he was relaxing in here before Kyle came in, and so he has no reason to not keep relaxing despite being interrupted very rudely. So he doesn't bother putting them back on after like the fourth or fifth page. So it was kind of funny just like drawing him just sitting there just free as can be. Here you see me going back to the very first page. Originally I was like, oh, should I take the first page out? Should I leave the first page as it is? But it was just too sloppy for me. I'm so sorry. I really wanted the first page to look good because that's the intro page that people are going to see when they first start reading it. I couldn't just let it be the worst page in the whole entire comic. And like at this point, I was telling myself, it's a zine. It doesn't have to be super clean because there are some really sketchy pieces in the zine. That first page has got to be clean. Turned out really well, actually, like better than I expected. At this point, you see me cleaning up some of the pages. There's like some images that I was like, let me clean it up, let me make it look a little bit better, especially the frames that weren't as legible as they could have been. Like, I really wanted to look as good as possible without overworking myself and missing my deadline. These speech bubbles were making me so mad. I couldn't take it. I prefer to like draw the speech bubbles manually and stuff, but I was in a rush and I was like, I just need to drop these speech bubbles in here. When I was gonna get into the fact that the font had changed by the time I had switched it from 2022 to 2024, like, oh. Now that all the speech bubbles were laid down, thank goodness, I went to clean up some of the sketches that were just, they needed to be saved. Like, there was no way I was going to leave them. There was no way I was going to be able to just clean them up like I really wanted to, like some of the pictures. So I had to go back and just line them. I think the lines turned out so gorgeously. Okay, don't tell anybody, but I really love doing lines. Like, I think doing the lines is fun. I enjoy cleaning things up. I know it's really tedious, but like when you see the difference between like the sketch and the line, even your cleanest sketch, I don't know, I just love it. Of course, there's times when the sketch looks better and you just gotta fix it, but good gracious, these clean lines was eating for me, so I was really happy with them. This is the scandalous page here that I really have to censor. Erin got a little excited. Played George as he tends to do, and again, it was their private moment together, so he's not that worried about Kyle, but Kyle's just, hello. I try to include like the cute moment of character where like there's still people, even though they're having like the conversation, they get distracted and stuff. Like, I don't know, I love character interaction. This one's one of my favorite pages just because of like the camera back and forth was my favorite, just looking at Kyle's face change. This page was also my favorite just because of Erin. Like, they're like so immature pointing at each other. It's just fun to me. Okay, this page was difficult mostly because of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th panel, because I didn't know how I wanted to represent people being charmed by the magic coming towards the water. And originally it was like people arms outstretched. I definitely wanted it to be a silhouette, but I wound up doing a different silhouette because I don't know, it wasn't reading well to me and I wanted it to read as good as possible. This is one of the pages where I was like, I'm gonna leave it because the lines are not that bad, and I just cleaned up on the lines and then moved on. Oh, I just love this page. I love drawing George looking pretty. Look how gorgeous those clean lines were. Another sensor for Erin. Again, so comfortable, but we cannot have that out here right now. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the comic where Erin tosses Kyle out at last. I really wasn't sure about that first pose, but I went with it because it was funny to me. And we get to see Kyle's resolution, which is that he doesn't mind indulging and getting caught up in George's music, which is how Kyle is. Of course, it does again like point at like how he doesn't respect Erin, which is an issue. But I think it's a good representation of character here. So at last, I had finished cleaning up everything and I went back to fix the font, which was battling me, and fix the bubbles as best as possible. I wanted it to look clean, and then I started putting down the shading. I think that the shades and tones really adds to comics. I actually struggled with shades and tones for years and years, and I'm still learning how to use them, like darks and whites, because I tend to have just like a really white page, so I'm trying to really include more darks and tones these days. So I went back to add the tones, getting to the page where George is singing, and I was like, ooh, color. And I made it very, very blue. I had a lot of fun, and I really wanted to showcase George's golden eyes. I love that his eyes are golden. He's so pretty to me. I cannot resist, and I wanted to show Kyle can't resist either. And shout out to asset creators for the music brushes. If I had to draw all those symbols, I think I would have cried, but I definitely would have done it. You can't help yourself. You get so into it. It's too fun. You see, at this point, I decided to actually color Kyle out of the way because I didn't like the white, so I really was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and color him all the way to really get the feeling of he's indulging, like really getting into it. Now that my brain I should color the whole thing. Yes. And I had to ignore that part of my brain because again, I was on a deadline. Things had to get done. No moment for being silly, but I did let myself enjoy adding a bit more color to things. Just really pinching it in there. Oh, I think the first page is my favorite page. I love the way it turned out. There you go, you read it. So yeah, that is the whole of the comic that was drawn. Now we're kind of going into how the cover was drawn. I decided to include it because it's a big part of it. This is also the cover of the zine if you get all the pages together. So I really wanted it to look good. Really emphasizing George is a mermaid. You did see I started with a warm-up. I try to pretend like warm-ups don't work, but they really do. Always warm up, you guys. So I really wanted to capture just George. I think he's so pretty, and also I think he's very average looking. It's like a mix, but I love him so much. And I just really wanted to capture him in the water. I think the original feeling was him splashing down into the water from the sketch, but I admit to you and not knowing what my sketch was saying and just kind of going with it. To me, he was like sinking but also splashing back into the water, so I was trying to go into that. I actually really like drawing water, but the water was fighting me in this picture, so you're gonna see me really battle and tussle with the water in a bit. I decided to change the hair up some. I don't know, I wanted it to flow a bit more, and so I wound up editing it. This is me tussling with the water. I really like drawing lines. I have no issue drawing lines, but when the lines aren't working with me, I started getting like tears in my eyes. But I think it turned out really well, and I think the ripples and waves are so gorgeous. So I was really happy with it overall. Me fighting color theory. Woo! It turned out so pretty and the atmosphere was so good. I did put some bubbles, but you're gonna see me delete one of the bubbles because I was like, you gotta go. And here's how some of the pictures turned out. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out and chilling and listening to me just talk on and on about my comics. It's been really fun together. If you're interested in the zine, you can find it on Gumroad and itch.io, and there are pre-orders for a printed version if that's more your speed. Link is in the description. Bye! We got a lot of Erin above though.